I had a teacher tell me the other day, she was like, I just automatically have trained my students to go in and always toggle to list view to look at
Uh-huh.
the assignments, just because that calendar view, yeah, and I don't know, are they seeing the bubble or are they actually seeing the name and then a drop down? Do you know?
They saw the initial thing and then it said one more, like under the
Okay.
activity.
Oh, like this.
So like this.
Okay. Yeah, I
Over
just figured
understand where
out.
you had the
We just figured out the other day that if their screen's smaller, it's going to put the bubble up there. And then if their screen's bigger, then it'll list them
yeah,
like this. And I don't know why it does that.
yeah.
So I think, and I thought that teacher's suggestion was pretty good of just always train them to go to the list view to make sure that they're able to see everything in there.
Okay.
Mhm.
That's a good idea. I didn't even notice the list over there. So
Well, Gina, you get one-on-one then.
Well, I don't know that I really have any other questions per se.
Okay.
I don't know. Not really. Where's everybody? I don't know. 'Cause I'm happy to cede the floor to somebody that has, because I feel like I've been looking at this stuff so long. Oh, here's Jennifer.
Yay.
Actually, yeah, I don't really have any other questions, so I might take off too, but thank you, Carol, for arranging this, and thanks, Alexis.
Thank you.
I'm going to cede my floor to Jennifer.
Nice.
See you guys.
Okay, good to see you.
Help.
Hi.
Wait, can you guys hear me now?
I
Why
can
did
hear
I not
you.
have video?
I don't know.
That is so weird. I'm sorry. You know what? I switched out my computer this last week because it was dying. There it goes. And when I went to log in, it was like not. It had all these things it had to go through because it didn't know my name and all of that. So what am I supposed to do with the floor that I received? Is this when I ask questions or?
Yeah, any questions you might have? I was actually over at Southridge this morning and I was so tempted to come and find you and crash your party, but you know.
Oh, well, we actually, today was our first date and I'm just looking because I was writing down things and I feel like I had another note. So, oh, here it is. So a couple specific questions that I have. So basically, I'm doing Unidad Uno of what is it called? Entre Culturas Tres.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple of specific questions that I have related to that. The first is, I tried last night in the first section, there's a close activity for verbs. And I tried it and I just, put in the first 10 answers and then hit submit so I could see how it graded it. And it looks like when it grades it, down at the bottom, it prints all the correct answers.
Just for teachers.
Oh. So it looks like what the students were getting. So if the students saw the result, they wouldn't see the answers. They would only see.
Correct. So let me open my student account really quick.
That's kind of frustrating because we can't see it looks different. On Canvas we can go to student mode so we can see what the students are seeing.
Yeah, so the thing with our student view is that it's very similar to the teacher view. There's very few differences in it. And so I know, especially coming from Canvas where you can see that student view or toggle to that student view mode, you can't do that in Learning Site. However, it is super similar to the student experience. So I just opened one of my student accounts. So do you remember which activity it was?
Yeah, it's in the second. So if you go into Explore in Unidad Uno in the actividades preliminares, and then it's the extensión uno.
Okay. So I'm just gonna pick a bunch of random ones. Okay. So when I submit as the student, it shows me just that I got them wrong. It doesn't tell me what the right answers are.
Oh, okay. So, okay, because, and am I the only one here now? For Carol's benefit, if she hasn't seen, what I saw at the bottom on mine when I looked at it was it came up with all the correct answers at the bottom. So, and I was like, oh, I don't necessarily want the kids to do that, to see that. So that's good to know. And then because I like the thing that they can do various attempts. And can you do unlimited attempts? Can you leave it as unlimited, or is it
So you would to set that. So I'm going to go back to my teacher account here so we can look at that.
I think it's set by default at 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's say that I know, I'm going to try and find that assignment again. So let's say I know that I want them to do this assignment a bunch of times. You can go to settings for that particular assignment. Just click settings.
Okay.
And then I could change the number of attempts to like 100.
Oh, okay. So it's not there isn't a it's just
there's no unlimited button. Yeah.
Okay.
And so then that one is going to be saved. And then if you go to your settings and then go to the task attempt page right here, then it'll show you, oh, for this one, you changed the default for that one activity.
Oh, I guess the last time I looked at this page, there weren't any tasks yet. So nothing showed up. So that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, because this settings page is just telling you that your mask, you can change the max task attempts. So everything's set at 3, but if you want to change it for everything, you can change it here. And then you can also decide if you want to turn these grading for those things on.
Okay, perfect. I'm looking, I made some cryptic notes while I was looking at it yesterday. Okay, so this is just a sort of, I was trying to figure out if there's a better way to do it for some of the things like, at the beginning where the advice is in the teacher book, have them observe the first page, the first page of the chapter. And I've really been kind of trying to follow the instructions. So on this page, have them observe the picture. I've been struggling with a little bit with how to best project things on my screen. Do you have any, because sometimes it feels like I'll get half an image and not the whole image about what I want. Do you have any tips from having worked with it?
Yeah, so if I'm projecting a class, I pretty much never use the teacher edition. I always use the student edition.
Mm-hmm.
And because it won't have all those notes and everything in there.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about this picture,
correct.
Close this. It's a little bigger. And then if I zoom out, just on my web browser, that's
okay. So zoom on the web browser as opposed to inside the.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. And I mean, and we actually got a lot of conversation out of it. So it worked pretty well.
Awesome.
The other thing that we just ran into in 7th period was with the first activity, the Conoce a Andres, the video activity. Where, there's it's like a checklist that you download. Do you know what I'm talking about? So this one.
Like this one?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So 95% of my students, when they download the checklist and you open it and it's the fillable box thing, do you know what I'm talking about?
So let me see if it's.
So if they attempt it, you can do it in attempt.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you download this, yes. So, and is this a checkable box? Can you check this? Right. So 95, this is what I get on my Mac. 95% of my students on their Chromebooks got this too. And then I had and maybe I'm not doing the math perhaps correctly, but 2 or 3 of my students came up where it opened it directly either with Cami or something called orbittext.help, and it was no longer a fillable box.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that's going to be whatever settings they have set on their Chromebook. So like, let's say for another class, they had to open something in Cami one time. They might have checked a box that says open every PDF with Cami. And so they need to have it set so that it's opening the PDFs with,
That would be the question is
I
how
think
do we
it'd be,
have this set?
I think it'd be system preview or something like that.
here's
Or-
another,
Yeah. They could do it on
Another-
preview, but yours is opening on, Google,
It-
on Chrome.
yeah.
Is it Chrome that is?
Yeah. So this is it just opened as another Chrome tab. And then
Yeah.
I can work on it while it's still in Chrome. And then the really important thing is you have to click this little arrow up here where they save with their changes.
Yeah.
And then it'll save that PDF with their answers in it.
Okay, I just have to figure out because, and this is a idiosyncrasy of our system is that our kids are on Chromebooks, we're on a Mac, so I also can't preview these things before we get in the classroom. But what I need to figure out through my tech guy is what I need to tell them what changes. So what I'm looking for is open every PDF with Google or with, you said something else, Carol, like.
Yeah, either with Chrome or with system preview, but I think with Chrome is going to be the best because it is less confusing for them to download with their annotations if they can open on Chrome, just like Alexis just showed us.
Yeah, no, and we did that. This is where we ran out of time. So they didn't get to downloading it. Oh, and then actually where they do download can they save it in a Chrome folder then? Because somebody was like, oh, it's just going to downloads, but can it also save to Chrome?
It should go into their drive. Okay, so here's a video. So if you go talk to whoever to help with your Chromebooks, you can reference this video that talks about the file upload. But I also want to show you another option that you can use because you have Canvas, which is actually really nice, that if you don't have Canvas, you can't do. So let's say I go to, so I have this PDF. I'm gonna uncheck this. Okay, so as the teacher, you've opened this PDF, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to save without my changes because I just want the blank PDF basically. So I'm gonna title it like Spanish demo PDF. And for me as a teacher, I have a Mac also. It's gonna save to my desktop right now. And then I'm gonna go into my Canvas. So there's a feature on Canvas that allows you to very easily put PDFs in there and have students annotate them. So I'm going to create an assignment. And so when I go to edit this assignment, I'm going to change the submission type to external tool. And wait, was it external tool?
Are you trying to get back to Wayside? Yeah.
No, I'm actually not.
Oh.
Why do I always forget? I think it was online. Oh yeah, that's it. Okay, so I'm going to change the submission type to online. And then I'm going to select student annotation. And then I'm going to find that PDF that I just downloaded. So what did I call it? Spanish demo PDF. Okay, so it was submission type online and then student annotation. And then I uploaded that PDF in there. And then I'm not going to do all this stuff because you know how to do that. So I'm going to save and publish. So now when a student goes to view this assignment, so I'm going to click student view. It's going to open the PDF for them right here.
I just lost you. I'm seeing Wayside. Is that you for?
Oh no, did you lose me again?
Or maybe. Oh, wait. You know what? For some reason, it just switched to the video that you had linked to me. It's my computer, not you. Okay. So I would show me that last step. How did you get here? because I missed just
Yeah, this is super cool. This is like, I think
Yeah.
it's gonna
Okay.
be super
So
helpful. And that
here-
would like take away all those problems of kids opening the PDF.
Yeah. Okay. So I went
Okay,
to
so we did
first
this.
type
We
online.
did
Yep.
the student annotation.
Blah blah blah. Okay.
Save,
And
yeah.
uploaded the PDF, and
Okay.
then so it looks like this from your end. But when
Right.
I go to student view, it opens the PDF for them in this window, and now they have all these tools up here so they can do all kinds of stuff. It's taking a second to load for some reason.
Yeah, because it's Canvas, probably.
So now they can open text boxes and type in here. They can like use a marker and they can draw, or they can highlight. They can draw things. So you could have them like draw little check marks on there if you want them to. And then they could turn this in. And so then as a teacher, when you open it on your end, you can see everything they did. And then you can open your own text box and type comments into it too.
Okay, so this actually goes back to a question that I had about that though. Like from here, I mean, I use Canvas assignments all the time. So from here, I would be just grading it in Canvas, correct?
Yeah.
If they downloaded that PDF and then uploaded it back into Wayside, would Wayside be grading the little checks to see what was correct or no?
No, any PDF like this, you're going to have to grade manually.
So the only ones that are graded
Automatically by the computer are going to be
automatically are the autofill ones.
Yeah, multiple choice matching, fill in the blank, that are tasks and not PDF. And you know something's a task by the little symbol. So like this little stopwatch thing, we call a task.
Okay.
And those tasks be pulled in or just PDFs like you did?
Just PDFs. But some of them.
Oh, see, because that's a task and it's a PDF.
Yeah,
So,
that's what I was going to say. That's where it gets a little confusing, because whenever you see file upload, because what used to happen is we used to have all the PDFs separate and all the tasks separate. And so teachers wanted a way for students to turn in the PDFs. So we turned them into tasks that are called file upload. So essentially what students are doing is they are downloading this PDF, doing whatever to it, and then uploading it again and submitting it.
oh, you know what? That just answered that because another question, I just realized what my question was, because I have this thing written down. When you add file, where does it go? So they click add file. Where is it going in my system?
So then once here, let me upload something. And they can upload anything here, to be honest. So even if they don't upload the right document, so they would upload and then they would submit. And
Okay.
then for you, I don't know if I have any of these as an example to show you, but it would show up in your grades and it would have like a little yellow dot for you to look at. And so when you open it, this is a long answer thing, so it's not the same thing, but
Okay.
basically it would just be like a little PDF and you click on it and it would be bigger. So you could see what the students had typed into it. The only, the thing where I think Canvas is actually better than Learning Site in this regard is that you are just going to look at the little student paper that they submitted, and you won't be able to type comments on that document. You'll be able to type comments on the side and leave them a grade in Learning Site, but you won't be able to type comments in it. Whereas in this one, in Canvas, you could go in and actually write comments directly on the assignment.
Okay. Yeah, I guess. I mean, the reality of it is, how often do we have time to do that for 50 students in an afternoon?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And I'm talking about
right?
like
So,
assessments. Yeah. Yeah. You're not going to do this
Right.
for every single assignment. Totally.
yeah.
And
So-
I think it just depends too where you're keeping your grades. I mean, do you want all your grades to be in Canvas, or do you want all the grades to be in Learning Site? And how often are you using that Learning Site gradebook?
Right. Well, and the question is, well, okay, so here's another question is, I mean, and for me, I mean, generally like quizzes like this or activities like this that I would do in Canvas with, that I would have done before would have been like homework / classwork participation grades, like formative stuff. It's not an assessment kind of grade anyway, but there was something about a portfolio. Is that something that if they upload, things show like what goes in their portfolio? And is that something that potentially they can put in there, or you can say, put stuff in your portfolio to show me the range of work you've been doing? How does that work?
Yeah, so let me open my student account so we can look at the portfolio from there. Okay, so you wanted to know about portfolio and using assignments for that. So I'm in my student view right now. And so if students go to grades, they can see what grades they got on assignments. And there's a little button right here that says add to portfolio. And so they can either add it or flag to add later if they want to. And so then the portfolio for them, and actually you're able to assign, let me see. They just made it so that you can assign the portfolio now, but I don't understand. I haven't seen how it works yet. So is it add assignment? Oh, that's okay. I see how it is. So they literally just added this last week. So if you want to assign a portfolio, you go to portfolio, go to your class, and then add assignment. And you can, so you've got class content where you can add assignments here, but the can-do statements. So you can just pick, but you can see there's like a ton of can-do statements. So you can just pick which can-do statements you want students to do and assign it to them. So that's one option from the teacher view.
So explain, what do you mean by that? That they would pull something from their work that displays this portfolio, or that displays that skill in the portfolio? Or
so there's a lot of options for students. So now I'm in the student portal, and so I can so students are going to have well, if you assign, they'll be able to see the specific one you assigned, but I'm just going to pick a random one here, but they can also filter by like unit or whatever you want them to see.
okay.
So when they click on the can do statement, they have to choose their progress. So either they feel like it's a 1, 2, or 3. 3 is I can do this, no help or no problem. 2 is I can do this with a little bit of help. And 1 is I don't really feel like I can do this yet. So they're going to rate themselves, and then they can add any kind of evidence. So they could upload a file, they could do a video voice recording, they could do a video recording, they could type directly into here, or they could add a task. So the add a task is where they're going to attach an activity that they've done in Learning Site. Okay. So for example, one of the ones I don't remember the ones I just flagged what the names of them were, but I can see the date that they got assigned. I can see my score. I can also see the unit too. So I know that I'm in unit 1 right now. So I might look at something from unit 1 or unidad preliminar to attach. So I would just click that and then I would add. So now it's added that task to their portfolio entry.
Okay.
So then as the teacher, you can go back in and see how they rated themselves. It's mostly a self-reflection tool is what it's used for, but they can go in and update that portfolio multiple times. So you could have them go back in at the end of the semester and update and see how they feel about some of those can-do statements. And this actually can stay with them from year to year. So if they're in Entre Culturas Uno and they move to Dos, they can take that portfolio with them.
Okay. Huh. Interesting. I have to think about how I'd use that.
Yeah, I know it's kind of tough just to think about like the amount of students that you have and then the amount of class time. I hadn't really dug into the portfolio by the time I left the classroom because I think it was a fairly newer feature. But if I were to use it now, it would be more like an exit ticket or, hey, you finished your test 20 minutes earlier than everybody else. Why don't you sit down and update your portfolio while we're waiting? That kind of thing.
Well, or like maybe a review activity,
yeah.
Like let's think about 3 of these guys. I mean, because a lot of our learning targets for chapters are sort of written that way too. So think about, okay, can you do these things? And then what's the evidence or what, as you're studying, what you can do. Yeah.
You know what I did when I taught level 3, one time at the end of the unit, I couldn't believe how well this activity worked. It was actually really fun. So I took all the can-do statements from the unit of level 3 that we were working on, and I put them in an editable Google Doc. And so I made a chart. So it was like 1 can-do statement, then a blank box, one can-do statement, then a blank box. And I went around into groups. I assigned one can-do statement to each group, and then I had them write like 3 sentences that demonstrated that can-do statement into the
Oh,
shared
cool.
Google Doc. And then we like went through and read all of them together, and I was pleasantly surprised about how much they were able to produce. So that was kind of a cool activity.
Yeah, that's a nice one. Cool. I feel like I just thought of another question while you were talking. Let me see if I can remember what it was. Oh, more of a not, I don't know, another one of those, do you have a way to get around it? It seems like the last time that we were all on, and Carol, I can't remember if you were in the room or not, several of us had trouble with the videos not loading when we blew them up, like in the small thing, they were okay. But then when we did a full screen, they weren't loading. But that seems to be working for me now. So I don't know if that was maybe something on your end. But I did notice with that same video, listening to Andres, it was like the volume varied. It was a bunch of little clips as if he had done the video a couple, like in 3 chunks. And one of the 3 or 4 chunks, and one of the chunks is noticeably quieter than the rest of them. And I don't know if you have any experience in, I don't know. I'm not sure if it was my classroom speakers that were like magnifying the problem or what.
I would just, the really awesome thing is that we have so many authentic videos, but the downside of that is that the quality is not always going to be great, because a lot of times it's the kids like recording themselves, especially in this case, I think. So yeah, you're right that, first of all, you were right that before, when you click the full screen here, it was glitching and it wasn't allowing you to show the video. Now it appears to be working. Another way to work around that, though, if it ever happens again, if you click on the title of the video, it will open it in the Explore content folder, and here you will always be able to go to full screen. So if it doesn't work from the flex text, you can always try going from a content Explorer tab.
We were playing with it the other day and it wasn't working at all.
Really?
Anytime we opened it up, and it was weird because we were doing it in the meeting, and it was weird because it was like playing the video. We could hear it playing, but we had the black screen. It was the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, I used the video for 2 different classes today, and that part seemed to be working fine. But yeah, no, it was kind of frustrating. I don't know. It feels like they should be able to edit that somehow to like boost the sound in the middle section, because I was like trying to raise the sound, or I lowered the sound because it starts kind of loud, and then it was too quiet for my kids to hear, and we were trying to do it as a whole class activity. So
I know. So here's my suggestion, because we've all also expressed that feedback as well. So the little question mark bubble right here in the top of Learning Site, if you click on that and then go to feedback, put that in there. Say it's this video from this book from this page, and so the audio is really hard to hear. Anytime that kind of thing comes up, and just say, it makes it really hard to do blah, blah, blah with my class because of this. Could you please look into this? Because the more feedback they get from teachers, the more they'll realize, hey, yeah, that's actually a really important thing that we need to do.
Yeah.
And I would just say too, because I ran into, some videos are definitely better than others. And one thing that I did when I ran into those specific videos was that was a time when I was going to throw it on Canvas and have students listen to it with their headphones on.
Mm-hmm.
Which I know wasn't always ideal, but.
Yeah. Well, we were just, I kind of felt like for this one, because I wanted them to sort of figure out how to do the different annotation things. Oh, I do have a question about the annotation. You know how, and you don't have it up on this right now. Oh, because we're in Explorer. In Flex Text, how there's the little, like, you can highlight and then you can do Post-it notes kind of thing?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So we did this with my class, and it was actually great. I did this, I had them read it, and then I had them do highlight in green where we're getting information from, highlight in blue the people that are, las personas que van a estar en el video, and then las actividades que van a discutir, and highlight in different colors. My question is that I realized when I went in to teach my second class of the day that my text was still highlighted from the first class. Is there an easy way for me to like erase all the highlights from my text, like just a button I can click somewhere, or do I have to? Because the only way I could do it was like to click on each, because I'd highlighted in 4 colors. The only way I could figure out in the moment was like click on each one and trash individually.
Yeah, I think that's gonna, I mean, did you go to this part right here where it stores them? So the flex text menu up here at the top,
Right.
the notepad pencil, that'll store all of them.
Can I erase from where it's storing them? Can I like click on there and just erase them fast?
No, I think you're gonna have to go in and click over here.
Now that would be an excellent, I guess on one hand, you wouldn't want, on one hand, kids wouldn't like the flip side would be you wouldn't necessarily want to do that by mistake. But for the teacher to be able to be like, I think it's just something you have to remember, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I was just surprised because I went in to do the activity and all my highlighting was still there.
So did you you went into a different class and
I was in a different class and I had the book, but my highlighting was still there. I guess because it was maybe, you know what? I did have an extra version of the textbook up because I wanted to be able to toggle back and forth between them opening from Canvas. I wonder if I went into the one that I'd done in the morning or if it keeps it from class to class.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering too.
I don't remember. I'll have to think about it next time. You know, first time through.
I know. I had never thought about that before.
I mean, I like the thing. I kind of liked it that they could, I could ask them to do that, to highlight and stuff. And then we worked through that the España thing too. And I had them like read it to each other and do questions and stuff. We did lots of observing and things.
Good. I will say though, for level 3, there's a lot of there's way too much content. I love level 3. It's my favorite book out of the 3 that I taught. That's my favorite one. But there's a lot of content, so it's worth if and when you have the time to look ahead and say, okay, these I really like and they're engaging, I'm going to do them. These not so much. Maybe we put these on the back burner, because I think it's hard to do an entire unit, everything from an entire unit in a reasonable amount of time. So you kind of pick and choose. I will say in Entre Culturas 3, the second unit, I only taught 4 of the units, but the second unit was my favorite one. There's a lot of really good authentic resources in there.
So I know, Carol, you were going to ask because it says that our book is expiring in March. Did we get an answer to, I basically told my students I was going to do 1 unit for sure, but do we get an answer to whether we can keep going to the end of the year if we want to?
Alexis,
because right now,
I know we originally said we were going to have until the end of the year with all of the resources. So I'm not sure, like it's showing up for, where did you see that it was showing up that it?
In my screen, when I log in, it says it expires on March 31st or March 1st. It's sometime in March.
Are you on semesters?
We have 2 semesters.
We have 2 semesters, but that's not our semester break.
Yeah. So typically so we need to find out if, number one, there was a pilot expiration date and that's why it got set at that date. The other thing to keep in mind is like all of these classes right here are my first semester classes. And then second semester, I'm going to get a new set of books here on my dashboard for second semester only. And the really important thing that we tell people is that you need to put the expiration date for first semester a couple weeks after the semester ends, because what will happen is once that expiration date hits, everything's going to disappear. So if you need to grade late work or whatever, it's going to be gone. So we need to, Carol, talk to everybody. Once we get all the rostering figured out, we should find out when that expiration date is and why, and then adjust that if we need to last the rest of the year.
Okay.
That's interesting. So what you're saying is that any work that the kids have done in first semester, they can pull their portfolio across to the second semester, but they can't go back and access any of the
They'll be able
work
to
that they did.
see, yeah, they won't be able to see their work, but they'll be able to go back and see anything that they want to.
Can they still like do, because sometimes, say for example with Canvas quizzes, I'll say, well, if you need practice on this, go back and do the quizzes from, you know, X unit or whatever. Will they'll still be able to do old activities?
Yeah, they'll be able to see and do all of the content unless you hide it from them.
Okay, right. Okay. Yeah, I guess I kind of, oh, I know, I did have a question. Something you said brought up another question. We have not done imperfect. We usually don't do imperfect until level 3, and this book presupposes that we've done imperfect, and because it's in Entre Culturas, they introduce it in level 2. What's the best way if I want to make the videos accessible to them?
You have the videos. So if you go to explore content, and then go to the resources, it will say videos, observa, enfoca en la forma de estrategia.
Oh, Entre Culturas 1 a 4.
You've got everything in there.
Nice. Okay.
That's
okay.
helpful.
So I have all of that is a key point, and I sort of saw that and it didn't process to me. So that is really useful. Okay.
Yep.
Exactly, because I did notice in I think in the scope and sequence, it says where the videos are. So I knew there were level 2 videos about the imperfect, but I'm going to need to back up and do some work on that with them. Yeah.
And I think in level 3, they get into the childhood thing pretty soon, right? We were the same, like we were transitioning from an old level 2 to this level 3. And so I used this to intro imperfect.
Yeah, I was thinking the same, because that's kind of what we would do, and sort of the same, like do just like a fast review of preterite, you know, to get us started for the year, you know, kind of like ¿Qué hiciste tú anoche? Kind of stuff, ¿Qué comiste anoche? And then do some work with the imperfect, and then kind of build back into the contrast between them. Although I think Entre Culturas 2 does some contrasting already, doesn't it, between the two?
Yeah, I think
which we definitely do not touch in Spanish too.
Yeah, we didn't either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was probably in 2, and I don't think I ever got that far.
When you guys taught it at Tiger, did you guys go through the whole textbook no?
No, so I was the one that jumped right in. I would say the regular year and a half that I taught it, I could get through into unit 5. And then during pandemic, it was like lucky if we got to 4. And I think so. And I don't think I'm necessarily a great test case, because I started a year and a half before COVID. Then I had somewhat of a normal year. Then I had COVID. Then we all COVID hit, and then hybrid year. So typically across the country, with teachers that I've been talking to, schools were getting through 5 or 6 units a year, and then post-pandemic, they're getting through 4.
How does that impact then the ability to use the next book the next year, the next level of the textbook the next year?
So the way that these were written is they intentionally tried to make units 5 and 6 a little lighter, and then they make a point to recycle that content. So just like the pages we were looking at where they're talking about childhood and imperfect, they try to build those things in where if you need to pause and bring that content in from earlier in order for it to make sense, then you have the opportunity to do that. So that's where you can bring in that imperfect and build up your, imperfect lessons. If you want to. So we actually have these documents called crosswalk documents that we tried to, let me see if I can find one. Here it'll say like, describe activities completed in the past. So here's where they saw it in level 2. So unit 5, pretérito, and then here's where it reoccurs in level 3.
Interesting.
Relate events that happened in the past. So preterite and imperfect was unit 6 in level 2, and then it's going to be in unit 1 for level 3. Discuss past events or experiences. Verbos con cambios de raíz en el pretérito, unit 6, and then unit 1.
Mm-hmm. And that other scope and sequence document, was that something different from what's in is this?
This is in the textbook, and it looks bad here because it's not side by side.
Oh, okay. So I was just wondering if it was something different, but now I understand because it's the side by side thing, right?
Yeah. And
no. So it is the same thing that I've seen. It's just a different format. I was thinking, wait, is that something I haven't seen? But okay.
I gave you guys the good ones though, right?
I don't know what the good one is.
Oh, I don't think I did. So I made this Google.
I mean, always the good ones.
I think there's one in the front of the textbook that.
Oh yeah, so I made this folder. I can give you the link again if you need it, but I made this Google folder for you, and there's a folder in there called scope and sequence. And so as the when I say the good ones, I just mean the more visually appealing ones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think
yeah. Is that folder, Carol? Is that on the? I do remember.
Yeah, let me put that on the master document.
That would be awesome.
Okay.
In level 3, you notice that it's divided into 2 parts, right? You've got the A and the B.
Yeah.
And so at the end of A, there's in camino A, and at the end of B, there's in camino B, and those are 2 formative assessments. So if I decided this is all in like perfect world, we have lots of time to sit down and actually plan things, right? Where I'm going to look at that Vive Entre Culturas and actually look through and see what students need to complete that Vive Entre Culturas. So when I had time and presence of mind to do that, then I could say, okay, maybe they didn't like this activity or this así se dice so much. So I'm going to nix that one and just know, okay, here's 1 or 2 vocab words they might need out of that in order to do well in the assessment. I wouldn't say they need to memorize all of this así se dice vocabulary perfectly to do well in the assessment, but I might go through and look for those key vocab words. The other thing that I did was that these formative assessments, the in caminos, I might say, look, we're only going to do this first half of this unit, and I'm going to use that in camino as my summative assessment. Because the in caminos are going to be the integrated performance assessments. So they'll still have an interpretive, interpersonal, and a presentational task. And they'll usually incorporate some kind of authentic resource. So they're still getting that same experience as that Vive Entre Culturas. It might just be a little bit less demanding. And that was okay for me to use that as a summative.
Okay. And then I was kind of thinking about this when I was looking at that, like, and again, in the context of having 50 students who are all going to do the same interview or whatever, it was saying practice with these, but then don't tell them the real questions on the summative assessment. But, 40 students in, I will have used all the possible questions. Like, how did you handle that using for the speaking task?
For which one?
So on the assessment, like thinking, what is the assessment called at the end?
The Vive Entre Culturas.
Yeah, Vive Entre Culturas. And the task is some sort of it's like an interview for the exchange program they want to do. Is that what it is? The computer, I think the computer asks them, doesn't it? The computer. Oh, so they're actually.
Yeah. So this is what we call comparative recording. And that's not the comparative recording.
I thought it was I thought it was something I had to do.
So no, the PDF that you see for the assessment gives them like guiding, like here's what they're going to ask you so they can brainstorm ahead of time if you want them to. But actually, this is going to be a comparative recording. Okay, so this is what they do is you assign it to them and the computer is actually going to ask them the question. So it says start audio recording.
Vas a escuchar 6 preguntas. Primero, escuchas la pregunta 2 veces y después tienes 30 segundos para contestarla. Pregunta número 1. ¿Cuáles son tus cualidades personales que demuestran que este programa va a beneficiarte. ¿Cuáles son tus cualidades personales que demuestran que este programa va a beneficiarte?
Y luego tienen como 30 segundos para contestar las preguntas y está grabando todo lo que está diciendo.
Mm,
So it's going to make this recording for you. So it's about 5 minutes long because it's going to ask a question, pause, ask a question, pause. This whole time it's recording. And so then once they're done, like if I'm not going to go through it, the whole thing right now.
right. Now that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. So once they're done, the whole thing, they'll click this button and then it'll take a second, but it'll make this recording and then they submit it to you. So then you can go through and listen to them through the questions.
Can they only record once?
No. So right now I haven't submitted. If I want to try it again, I just hit start recording and it'll start recording again.
Okay. So, and then how did you do this? Did you have them all do it in class at the same time, which I assume would be crazy?
Yeah, I can't remember because I think we only did this one once. I think I had them bring headphones and like I let them disperse, like I let them go in the hall, I let them go in the classroom, and I just said, okay, you've got 10 minutes to do this, come back.
Okay. So in other words, because you give this to them to do at home and they can sit there and they can write they can write down what they want to say and read it or whatever, so I guess that was my question was, when does it become a reading or and
I think it's just
Google
all
Translate
about
task.
setting that expectation and that was because I'm always going to have that issue, no matter what assessment I do. So if I really want to hold them to, I want this response to be spontaneous, then I'm going to say, okay, if you're reading, I know if you're reading, I hear you speak Spanish. I know what your spontaneous Spanish looks like, right? Or what it sounds like. So if you're reading, then I'm just going to ask you to do it again with a different set of questions that I make,
That's a good approach. Yeah. Okay. Good. That I'm really glad that I asked that because we do like oral interviews along the way, but you've always got to find other stuff for everybody else to do. And I was trying to figure out, it seems like kind of complex questions. I was kind of trying to figure out how I would do that time-wise.
Yeah. So the other thing too is because these Vive Entre Culturas and the Encaminos, frankly, are so involved with all these different pasos, they'll typically come with they always come with a PDF that's going to have all of those tasks in it. Some of them will even have a checklist. So this is the PDF with everything in it. So you can see here's the interpretive task that they're going to do, which this one
is that PDF. Did that come from your, like the table of contents?
In the Explore content.
Oh, okay.
This is where it gets a little tricky because you can go through flex text. But the way that it's going to divide it up when you click through it, honestly, if I'm doing a Vive Entre Culturas, I'm going to go to the content folder. First, I'm going to read this to see what they're doing. Then I'm going to go to the content folder.
Right. Okay. And I haven't gone through it yet.
Yeah, it's totally fine. I would just say like read it, see what all the parts are, and then go find that Vive Entre Culturas folder so you can see everything that's in there. Because you're not necessarily going to use everything in this folder, but you want to know what's available. Because like, for example, we didn't know that comparative recording was actually a task, you know what I mean? So it's nice to go, and it's might necessarily be clear all the time. So it's good to just go in and see what's available. And so anyways, I opened that PDF. So this will have a description of all the tasks. So here I've got my interpretive part, which they're reading and answering questions, and then also listening and answering questions. So this one was kind of involved. Then here it tells me the interpersonal assessment. I'm going to participate in this interview with the selection committee. And then it gives them some space to brainstorm. So if you want to provide them with that opportunity to sit down and make a list, use some of these words, kind of think ahead of time. So it's
here's what you can take in as your,
Yeah. So that can help too, just to have them write down some notes and
actually I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right where I am with IB right now. That's what we're doing. Show me which document this was again. I was trying to find it is it that?
So typically when you open a Vive Entre Culturas, the first will be a rubric.
Okay.
Usually you'll have the PDF with all the pasos on it as the second one on there.
Okay, cool. And can you break out pieces of that?
You'd have to use like a PDF splitter app.
Or I could print, I guess, if I wanted them to print
Yeah,
it.
I was gonna say,
Okay.
honestly, I used to like print these out, chop them up, take the rubric, glue pieces of rubric on the top, just whatever's
Right.
going to work out for you. Because if you're not going to sit down and do all 4 pauses at the same time, you can definitely mix it up how you want to mix it up.
Yeah. Okay. Alrighty. Gosh, that was really helpful. Okay. And
Okay.
I mean, there's part of me that's like, la, 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 la. I'm on my first day. I'm not thinking about it, but I also need to be able to think about what I'm going to do at the end.
Yeah, I have felt all those same emotions that you're feeling.
Okay, cool. I think now I've really used up all my questions.
Good.
So I have a question that's come up.
Mhm.
And that would be something that I would want recorded if we can. The addressing heritage speakers in the room. So can you just kind of walk through like what that looks like, maybe in the lesson that Jennifer's been using or doing? Like, what if she has heritage speakers in the room?
Okay, so I'll show you some things that we have, suggestions that we have available.
Okay.
And so in learning tools at the
Mhm.
top, this learning tools bar, and then instructional strategies toolkit, if you click on that, this is I don't know if I've showed this to you all yet. I'm sure it's come up at some point, but then it always kind of just, there's a lot of new stuff. So it always kind of falls by the wayside. So anyways, if you click on learning tools, go to instructional strategies toolkit, there's over 200 teaching ideas in here, and you can filter by categories. And one of the categories is heritage learner. So this can give you some different types of activities to do. So maybe if you're trying to really differentiate your class and you've got that group of heritage speakers and you want to give them like a higher order thinking task to do when everybody else is doing something else, you can look through here for some of those ideas to do. The other place to look for suggestions is in the front matter of the teacher's edition. So I'm in the teacher's edition right now, and I think it's under approaches to teaching. Let's see. Staying in the target language, differentiated, heritage learners. So then there's this section at the beginning of the teacher's edition and this will be in all the levels too, that kind of give direction for heritage learners. The other thing that's available in level 3, there are, I like to call them hidden gems in level 3. So I'm going to go try and find one. They're in extension activities. So I'm going to search and see if I can find one. Let's see if this is one. Yeah, so for example here, so anytime you see extension, it means it's an additional activity on top of what's in the textbook. So it's only going to be found in Learning Site. So you can see here, this is a reading and here's additional vocabulary. So it's about the same topic that was in the textbook that everybody else is looking at. But then this is just an extra thing here. So if you, for example, those students are fine with the speaking aspect. And so maybe while everybody else is doing some type of interpersonal speaking practice, you want them to be working on literacy. So you've got this extra activity here where they can be working on this literacy and then doing some types of activities with what they're reading.
So can I ask something about the extensiones? Because you said they're only available online. We also got, when we got our teacher editions, we got like a workbook edition and there were some extension in there too. So are they all in that workbook edition or not necessarily?
To be honest, I am not 100% sure. I know, sorry, my cat's gonna get in here. I know that all of the PDFs that are referenced in the textbook will be in that workbook. But if you see things that are extension, that means it's going to be something like this, where it's actually a PDF document that's in the workbook. So my answer is I'm not 100% sure that all of these extensiones are going to be in that workbook.
Okay. So in other words, I might, because there's one for the one that I'm doing right now. that it's like a picture of some different folks in the park and then ask questions. And I realized, oh, that's not in the textbook. And then I was trying to figure out, I will say that workbook seems like a whole conglomeration of all different things with different names all stuffed together. And I couldn't figure out what the order was.
Yeah. So,
generally in
workbooks-
order.
the workbooks were written later. And so the tricky thing about, they should be in order with the tech in terms of units and activities, it should be in order. The problem is you can't look at the textbook and know if there's something in the workbook. You have to work backwards, look in the workbook, and then go to the textbook from there.
Yeah. I don't know. Live and learn.
Yeah. Did you get class sets of workbooks or you just have like a single one?
Just
Okay.
one,
Okay.
which is fine. I mean,
Yeah.
it's nice for me. And honestly, I feel like for one unit, we're going to try and do as much online as possible to see how well it works. But also I realized today, we actually spent a long time looking at screens today and the kids got kind of tired of it. So
Yeah.
I'll have to think about what I want to do and what I don't want to do.
Yeah.
So.
Totally.
Cool. Okay, cool. So we have like an official meeting next week, right, Carol? I think.
Yes, yep.
Okay. I will no doubt have more questions by then. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. This has been really good.
All
Good.
right.
All right.
See you soon.
Thank you. Have
All
a good
right,
afternoon.
sounds good.
You too. Bye.